Good afternoon. Today is October 8th. I will have I will changing a little bit of the subject matter. For those who have been following what I do, and I basically have three subject matters. From the educational side of it, I have the development of the CCI, which is Cross Cultural Institute, where I will be hosting the subject matter called the psychology of round and square. And in the same CCI, in the cultural sphere of the CCI, also I will be speaking of the pedagogy of conscience. And I think the subject matter of the conscience in education and psychology round and square will give a potentially a good link, a better grasp of the Western ideas to have a better understanding the history of the Chinese and the fostering of the conscience education. And the language of Chinese is basically written in conscience, which is the language of the heart. But from this side of my brain, where I have spent 45 years when I jump off from the educational system and got into a totally self-created trade business involving gemstones without any boundary, without any passing on, and the old wisdom of the one of the oldest industry in the world. And creatively, in this 45 years, in this part of the gemstone global business, had enhanced and enriched my cross-cultural institute, my cross-cultural interests, and also languages. And today I'm basically opening up about this system of the gem files, which is one of the most complete exchange global trade system that will allow the future of trade with great ease. Yes, any one of you, every one of you can handle the kind of business at home. And I'm doing especially more for the my fellow Brazilians where I grew up in the last 45 years, and they had enriched my life in many ways. The garimpeiros, some of them retired, become a gem seller, handler in the process in the state of Minas Gerais. In the two cities I will repeat, showing in the town I started my office in Governador Valadares, and then in Teofilo Otoni, and the whole state of Minas Gerais, linking to Bahia further north, and with me growing up as a teenager before my college days in Sao Paulo. Brazil had given me more than what I can ask for. Not just the gemstones, but the language, the Latin language in the cluster of the other business enterprise is the dictionary and electronic dictionary. I call it Romantina, which means Roman, Latin, the four basic languages. Using it as a language skill. If you are American, you push one word. I'm thinking about Chinese American application. The Chinese can put in the English word like gemstones. When you push Romantina, image, sound, and the four pronunciations of gemas in Portuguese, gema, gem, Italian, French, and Spanish. Okay. But anyway, what I like the most is I try my best to speak the most common, the most down-to-earth language. And one of the in this 45 years and in 33 plus years since I started with internet and started with using the software from Microsoft, spreadsheets and words, and our engagement into internet, I have not given up. When I started in 1991, look at how many company had come in and gone up, huge company that gone up and went down like Yahoo. We talk about Google, we talk about eBay, the gentleman who bought it, sold it with Hawaii, and all the other from Facebook and from all the other entries, the enormous, tremendous amount of company in the use of the internet. Why am I so persistent? Because deep in my mind, my thinking, I said this industry for the longest time is one of the most dubious, is one of the, in Portuguese, as a business, mais sacana, clever, cunning, even to be dishonest to some degree. Okay, but what is the huge dynamic interchange an industry that can have accountability and to have what you bought is what they are, and what you bought, what you pay for, and where will be this item be ranking, what is the salability, what is the repeatability, what is the market demand, and the whole array of the economics. Because most people are talking about buying something or investing something. Let's not even talk about investment. If I bought something and that item holding its value, and then, and of course, everybody will make purchase. But if I'm giving you the figure in exchange, I just mentioned some of the constellation, the platter that I make in this cluster of the dynamics. Again, cultural spheres in the gem files is an open book, which I do have the system called open books. Okay. In all these years, people keep talking about buy gold, buy diamond, buy gemstones. It will go up. Yes, many items have gone up. When we begin our business as a retail shop, 1977, in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, called China West, which is still in existence, we paid gold at $48 an ounce. And don't forget, 71, 72, when Nixon and Kissinger had dollarized the petroleum for Aramco, for the American investment with the Saudi Arabia, and ditching the gold-based dollar, go at $35 an ounce. And for the longest time, now I can using GPT to look back for the indexing. When do we pay 56, 48? And even in this particular time, I have seen the jump from the price from 480 to 860 to 1,000 and back to 680. And today we have gold at 2,400. But we have never speculated in gold. Number one, it's portability. Number two, if one, just using a kind of a scale, 1 carat equal to 1/5 of a gram, and I can make $1 a carat. So you talk about 1,000 carats of amethyst. I'm talking about amethyst. So 1 kilo, you have 5,000 carats of amethyst. If I make $1, I make 50 cents. I'm already surpassing the gold value. Whatever economic skill that I'm using, even that could be a little flaw here and there. And here's the beauty of it. In this format, in this part of visual lecture presentation technology, now in the using of the language capture with Google, if Google granting us to have to print out, even many times the printing with the phonetic sound had minor mistakes, and that first document printed to be edited in the right format. So eventually, even under my domain, openbooks.ai or openbooks, where every video, every class with the type print, now into 165, 200 languages. And that document can be electronically alive, where the audience who participates, let's say this lecture decided to give to a high school a class of economics. Mr. Paul Yi, speaking of the gem economics and the gem industry, the gem files, whatever the subject matter, the class can have that along with the documentation, which can be lived or can be printed to the class to share. But in between every single line. If you have a question, you can insert. In this most democratic way to participate into a lecture series, and even if I make some chronological mistake, if I'm talking about history, we talk about Custer in the Little Bighorn, when, what, how many have died, how many was a true fact that Custer never got the repeat rifle, the Winchesters, as did the Cheyennes or the Lakotas. Well, people can insert and say, I have this link to give you a better visibility. What happens today with AI? What happened with ChatGPT? What happens with Claude? What happened in the use of Gemini? Continue with the Wikipedia, continue with Google search. Is an open learning. You no longer have to wait to have your question answered. So if I start in this subject matter about gemstones and a particular time and chronologically, when I'm talking about at what time the gold gone up in what price, somebody in my audience can already have an index showing the gold moving up weekly, daily, 24/7, a year. I am putting this gem files into an open education. Okay. You can look at this as also a golden opportunity. I put it very simply, very mildly, using the first research, the industry of ours, color diamonds, gemstones, and jewelry, an estimated annual is about 400 billion. Okay. Let's say my system will make this industry have fully accountable, and one entity, one group, one country want to invest in me and buy me out. Like I said, for 0.5%, 0.5% of 400 billion is still, I got $2 billion. Plus, when I'm not in charge of the system, by not having a conflict of interest, I can still be trading. I can still be plugging in products, gemstones, but with total accountability. Now, here goes the one of the principles is drastically from the years for 45 years of my practice. We still come up with people. Are you selling me an aquamarine instead of blue topaz? Is this a natural amethyst, or is that a Japanese mixed synthetic amethyst? Today, the whole question mark about diamond and man-made diamond, a synthetic diamond. There are endless question and dubious and doubts, and because of the value sometimes involving with our trade. We have established. Why am I so, at 76 years old, why am I so obsessive with the system I started in 1991 when we were just infant, baby boys and girls learning about what is internet and what is the use of the spreadsheets from Microsoft. That's the first embracing of data. And now we're into AI. And now we're into quantum count, competing between China and US and Huawei and the rest of the companies and chips and all that. But what is most important of it all, I have devised, maybe very naively, in all these years and all that I'm going to present and the story I'm going to tell, many can be verified, authenticated, true or not, or was I just make up fictions? And sometimes we have to make up fictions when I'm talking about the size of money going through. If I carry $60 million, Alexandra from Brazil to Switzerland to Hong Kong, just for a mission, I pick up $100,000, more money than I ever make in a average trip, buying trips to Brazil. But what I'm talking about, some principle, the perimeter which I have developed, the system will work, is based on, I call it the 4T. The first T is total transparency. The second T is total integrity. The third is accountability, and the fourth is total efficiency. And with this basic principle, you may call it the core ethics. Forget it. This is what it is. So, and then the clusters that I have, and first I was starting called the Jamboard. The Jamboard is that everybody can put up your merchandise into the board. If for those who are willing with the organization, which I also established in Facebook or GGMBA, Global Gem and Mineral Business Alliances, the alliance partners can determine, should we have a board for the overall, or should we have a board for the category? Those lines are very fuzzy, from the mines to wholesales to retail to public. These are some of the obstacles we have to go through. But the Gem board in general is that if you bought, let's say you come to my business, I sold you aquamarine for $2,000. We say, Paul, how good is this? How good would that be? Forget it. The first thing first, which the entire public today, people in my business from everywhere can establish, is through the language of the item. Two things technologically. We can using adapting Apple, hear me out, Huawei, hear me out. You take a picture. The picture is so small, you can measure by millimeters. Let's say a stone, 10 by 12 oval. And then sideways, the depth of the stone. So it's width, length, width, and the depth. And then you can voice command. W12, L is 10, and the depth, D is 4. Instantaneously, when you take the picture, you'll be able to measure the stone. And another feature can add to our cell phone, have the weight. If the cell phone can measure our pulse, cell phones, other feature coming up, can even measure the glucose in our blood for the diabetes and whatnot. The cell phone can also use as eventually a scale in carats and grams. Of course, the cell phones is limited. But the first thing you do is the picture. The picture, when you're taking smaller items, is just a picture. For the larger piece of mineral, you can have a scanner. And after you scan, you talk about, again, the height, the length, height, the width, and the thickness. You can put a dotted line in between. How thick is this piece? Okay, the three, no different than the depth on the faceted stone or the capstones. You can voice command, the picture is done. You load it up. I'm doing this is thinking about my friends from Brazil, my friends from Africa, from the 600 million French-speaking Africans in the northern part of North Africa, in Belgian Congo. More gemstone will come out. My Afghani friends coming from Afghanistan, and with the stones right now putting in Peshawar, into Pakistan, and then coming into Bangkok, coming to Hong Kong, coming to China, Beijing. So when you can determine measuring of the dimension, that's one obstacle, because that will become a universal language. And then you can talk about the price before you even talk about the quality, because picture can be altered and whatnot. But on the buy sells, you have the condition clause into it. But what you have measured the stone, big rock, then you talk about this is the net weight. Then you can talk about what packaging system do you prefer. You want to use bubble, you want to jet, you are using sand, you want to using straws. So net weight, the gross weight, the packaging, the gross weight. So all this are into details. Instead, talk about FOB from the port of Santos. You can talk about FOB1 T land L. So you can living from the interior to the port, and the FOB from Santos to Hong Kong, or air freight. So the language can totally change by accommodating the buyer. So when you take the picture, use the scanner, show the best size or size. You don't send one picture, you may send 10, 12, whatever amount, and the net weight, and then the cost per carat, per gram, per kilo, per ton, whatsoever the units. So when you determine that particular piece and is with this specs, specific terms, then you can talk about the picture quality with different lights. You can load this up into a Jamboard. Now, my Jamboard is double M, Gemboard. When you put in a Jamboard, that is the whole thing. The Gem GPT internal search. Okay, you push amethyst, boom, purple. You can just put the purple color. What color comes in ABCD? What red, ruby, sapphire? What the red corundum? We talk about what color. What then the alphabetical types, and you can even push country. Eventually, you can move the screen that I want rubies only from Burma. I want ruby from Thailand. I want ruby from Africa. But in this play of the Jamboard, you can, when you push, you can have all purple. You put amethyst, you will list it. You can push sizes that you want, and you will have a listed of the stone from the biggest to the smallest, from the highest, and you can comment, I want this particular stone, 20 karat amethyst. You give a range from 20 to 21 to 25, whatever. You will show the stone, and it will tell you exactly where the stone is from and what price. Now, then you'll find a discrepancy. How come this one is 200, this one is 150? Well, the other element comes into. Who is the cutter of the stone? Is it a general lapidary, or is it a specific designer cut stone? Somebody like from Oberstein, from the German side. You know, we talk about Bernie Munsteiner in the region, or Italians. I found the Italian cutting stones are found as just as attractive as the Germans, and other talents. So that stone, starting with what it is, and then you could add on the aesthetic part what has been done. If for scientific purposes, for the inventory, for the cutters, they will show the picture of the original stone cut, reshaped from what way to what way. So the more the story we can tell, enhance of the stone, much of the information you can keep it to yourself and not go into public. But on the general board, the Jamboard, you can see your own stones. When you bought it, it's in your possession, and then with the feature, you can talk about what this particular stone mean to you. Is that you buy it because you like it, or because you bought it? Now you can have it mounted. Now, here comes another angle. From my creation within the framework of AI and within the framework of spatial web that comes after that everybody's searching for the next future. Many years, I have seen some of my very good friends, one of the famous gem carvers from Hong Kong, Wallace Chan, when he had done the faces, is so intriguing because he's coming from a very humble background. The family only from Fujian, they only carve ivory, and he broke the barrier. He broke away from the ivory carving to carve gemstones. He used a jade in other cabochon stones. Eventually, he using facet stones with aquamarine, with the stones coming out from Brazil. So at one time when we were together in Europe, I forget, Hong Kong, maybe Kahera and Kahera from Spain, because I was translating, we happened to be in the same place. Wallace said that, but they want me to carve exclusively for them. Well, the story goes on. Kahera said, we would like to have your work on our pieces, but however, your name would not be on. Now, I'm not demonizing Kahera. I can even talk about the Chinese carvings for over centuries, over the years. Many items I bought from China. Why don't the Chinese allow the carvers have a signature on the piece? Now, I ask this question because I have bought also um, uh, Nazukis from Japanese. Many the ivory carving, the seal of the company, and the carving, sometimes the signature of a famous carver. All this can be done today in a very personalized way. Okay. So we're talking about a stone on the Jamboard. You can comment color, size, shape, region, origin, stone. There are many, many ways to search for the stone, and with the background of the history from its original rough, you can see to transfer, to cut down to the final piece. All the details can be done into the Jamboard. There's a trading board. And also, what you bought today, you can say, geez, I like it. I don't like it. I put it on the for sale. You may have bought the stuff for 200. You want to sell it for 180, 190, just so you get your money back and buy something else. Totally at your command. That is the Jam board. Now, the other platform is the Jamdex. And you can look at it just like here and Google. You can have the Analytica, how many peaks and how many valleys and how many lines. If you want to know how many gem dealers are watching me, in my comment, I will comment that the line is blue. If somebody, a retail jewelers, that line can be red or green or whatever. So today, the analytical side and the big data side, and also on the quantum count and measure, you can have your own statistics by putting what I said about private artisans. Now you can marry the artisan, the artistry to the stone. So let's say a designer using any name, Paul Yee, my name, Chino. One time I had it. The people like what I have designed in a particular stone, a capuchon, twisted, whatever. Today, you can, using symmetry and graphics, that stone, I set one stone at 6 carats, a beautiful aquamarine. But now the new stone is 16 carats. My design can be instantaneously augmented to fit this bigger stone. And the design I have can be casted into Asia or whatever region you want, into a 3D prototype. And from the 3D prototype, you can throw into casting, or you can want it handmade. What I'm trying to say, if everyone can use the designers by paying him a token, the designer after this designs no longer have to hide, because you use it, they'll be indexing and his account will be paid. So here comes another resolution for this global interaction. Other than Jam board and the index, to let you know, you can see the index go up and down as you're reading. Then you can have in the system, I put them together in the instruments called the Jam card, business card. I can put this, another factor is a Jam bank that will offer you, that will handling transaction and cash. Why? Because, for example, I don't know when it's going to happen between the Chinese entry with the RMB into the global south, into the BRICS era. But for years and years, when your country is suffering for a black market dollar, you are not a country, you are a colony. Years ago, when I go in on a landing in Brazil on a Sunday with cash at $30,000 in my cash to purchase, I keep my ceiling at 30 to from 3 started to 30, 50 at the most, the risk I take. On that $50, when I left US from Chicago to Brazil, on Monday, I can buy 15% more based on the exchange of the local currency in Brazil. And if I change sometimes in Sao Paulo, I can have a high exchange rate in the mining towns, depending on the dolero, the dollar man. And the funniest index for me to know what is the dollar worth in the black market. Sometimes it's nothing, but oftentimes it can be a hike of 15%. I landed in Sao Paulo. I asked the luggage carrier, can you change me $100? They will let you know exactly. And I'm using that as my first index. But later on, the hundreds of thousands, the people changing dollars, including banks, but their rate usually lower. This is just a way, it's part of the gem economics in the cultivation of my own business to make sure that my value, if not out of greed, it's not that I can buy more, at least I'm not losing my buying power. So with the creation of these 9 platforms, I talk about Gem GPT. That is just a language. If, let's say, we use Gem GPT, I'm going to put my product into Gem GPT. You can search and find out this stone have sold how many times, who were the first designer, or who was the first gem cutter, and what stone is coming from. At least until we have a system to learn about, it makes sense for people to say, I want a stone from that region, and talk about regionalization. And for the longest time, and to my own total shock, when the lady come into my store and say, Paul, you don't have the amethyst we are accustomed to out in Alsace-Lorraine, the part of France. Geez, for a long time I said, ma'am, I really do not know. Before I can Google, have image funding. Well, as it turned out, the amethyst used to be in Alsace-Lorraine is one of the lightest weights, almost pinkish, not good enough to be a quinzite color with brilliance and that womanly paint. Maybe I use it in the wrong way, but it's one of the weak stones when we're grading A grade, B grade, C grade. I can't even put it into a D. But anyway, I have a stone provided, cut it to suit her. So at that point, I learned her sense of amethyst from that part of France, by the border of Germany and Switzerland, and the German and French. I found their food is terrific. That's why we all want to go to Basel for dinner and not other part of the Switzerland when we get a chance. But this is all regional taste, all regional their history and what they have accustomed to. By having this factors developed, we are all GGMBA members. We share the bank, we share the credit card, we share the Gem coin. Now, this sounds interesting. So why Gem coin? Well, I'm not sure at this point. If I am a Brazilian, I sold $600,000 of the goods. Okay, the Gem Bank can play an arbiter. In other words, you can set up an escrow. I want to sell to Paul Yee, but I don't know Paul Yee. But I want to know only when my money is good. So you can set up an escrow, just like eBay have it, Amazon probably have it, because they probably make money from 1 point to a couple, 0.05 point, is another instrument to make money. So if we belong to the same bank, we share the same coin, and we have the card. The card is just a credit electronic payments. In agreement with the membership, but in that coin, who is to know? We want to print someday a coin in silver and in gold, just so if I am from a country that suffer enormous devaluation of my currency, I can hold my money in the gold coin, just to print it like 1 ounce of gold, a half an ounce of gold, Mickey Mouse, whoever. You have the Gem coin, double M. You have the Gem card, and you can have the by way of the Gem Bank. So this is a monetary system that can be set up to aid all the participants in the Gem files. The files eventually have its own presence. You can remove it from the system and store what you have on hand. We'll have our the cloud. Maybe we can use Alibaba. Who the hell knows? Alibaba may even can build the cloud system in Brazil. We have no earthquake. We have no other disasters. Ample land, Sao Paulo, closed city. So the ability that what I have prepared this idea of the system of the gem file is just so you have the file system, but everybody can earn from it. Where do I learn this? I learned from the gem trade in Brazil. I learned the gem trade from Colombia. I learned the gem trade in Thailand when I'm meeting with the whole family. When they first established a gem exchange with the direct minor sellers to the customers. This is coming to a time electronically in this era of the AI and with the quantum algorithm. Okay, I have mentioned that before. Everybody now is reading a diamond based on the 10 power magnification of the stone. Well, today we can have a machine easily. I want that to be magnified to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, one picture each. If your stone from the surface of as using a round to one top view, you can take a picture, you located a inclusion. I'm no longer worrying about the 10 count. If the stone reads a 10 power, is flawless, or VVS1, VVS2, and the language of VVS is a very provincial language called very, very slightly included. VS1, very slightly included. VS2, very slightly included too. So what I'm trying to say, in reversing the industry standard, I want my crystal, whatever inclusion in my stone, to become the registry of my stone. Because technology is here, because we can have added evidence. Because in the old days, they can steal a big diamond and cut it into 2 or 3 stones and sell it. Nobody will see the difference. But today, if you cut down the bigger diamond into 3, 4 sections, the segment of the inclusion, maybe you register in 30 power, 50 power, you will be there. As I said before, all the silly, idiotic way about capture blood diamond, it was another form of a farcical, meaningless endeavor by the authority and by the community of the gem trade. Every stone, eventually, with the technology today, can be pulverized. If I own a mine, I'm very proud of my mine for the emerald mines, called ABC. I can have stones in that mine, in random, have them pulverized and take it down to the freezing zone. In what degree Fahrenheit, you can see the different minerals that trace mineral to locked into the different temperatures. So that's how we find out our topaz. What are the contaminants? Why such a delay from the treatment release in good old University of Missouri, Columbia? Because with the trace mineral, cadmium is one of the most cancer-causing, toxic, poisonous element. Today, at this time and this era of our business, what I created, the gem files in bits and pieces, when we only know about data with the spreadsheets. We're starting our business in 1977. We're using telex. We're the first one in town to get into the fax machines. And we're the first one in town. I don't want to sound arrogant. The time we started using Federal Express, then UPS and DHL and all the other logistic company deliver service. And before that, thanks to the American government, we could have insured our amethyst up to $40,000 per package. When I ship my stones to Shopper Image, ship my stones to the cruise ships, and to other, we use all the available options. And when we becoming using the logistic company UPS, FedEx, and DHL and all that, we have the insurance clause to make sure they are also insured. So in this 45 years, I'm not concerned about buy and sell. I have a very protective zone. I know where I can make my definite earning in a very secure and modest way to secure my good sized amethyst, good color, around $1 when the good amethyst at that time coming from a different region of Bahia, Cobrigino, controlled by the Germans, were selling between 3 and 5. So I am $4 and $3 under this mine. But by the same economic sense, somebody can become to obsolete my use of the stone coming out from Marabá, Pará in Brazil. And I just so happen to know one of the major purchaser in a constant way, and not only buy the top color for over 2 years. And that over that 2 years, I've made my earning enough to give me the part of holding just handling amethyst. And then I went from Minas Gerais back to the south to Rio Grande do Sul and to model after the German trained European oriented amethyst mines in the region of in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, Iraí, and the two cities, Lajeado, Soledade, also known for the agates. And that is where the other connection, making the agates, working with the Chinese, purchasing by way of the Banco de Boa Vista in Rio de Janeiro. So life is a little bit of these connectivities. But in this cultural zone, I have always been very secure and protected with my amethyst, with a strong base. So you have one color which give you the bread and butter. And when the extra stone that I earn from the amethyst, I can be buying more speculative stones that maybe I was a little bit less knowledgeable, but I love tourmalines, I love aquamarine, I love, kunzite, I love all the other stones that I can spend the extra money to this more speculative individual stone. But still, 9 out of 10, I get over 100% return on my money for the risk of my time, my money, and travel back and forth to Brazil, to China, and to the US. So, in the formation of this system of the gem files, I have zero qualm to now put this into a format. If someone in this audience say, Paul, we can take this into Amazon, welcome to it. I have people already from Qatar want to take this system into the Saudis, and we're trying to determine more articulating is the industry is 400 billion. I said, if you're not including the specimens, the minerals, the collections, and the antiquity company like Park Benet before, like Christie's, all the auction houses. So the market is going to be anywhere around 400 billion to 600 to 800 billion. If somebody wants to take the system all to themselves, they're welcome to it. But I have divided my target audience with all the other system I developed is based on 5 linguistic groups. Let me repeat. China is 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion India, 1.1, 1.2 billion in the world of the Arabic, 1.5, 1.6 people, the group speaking English. And then in my forming, in the other survey called the Romantina, which is Roman Latin language, I just used the 4 basic languages, excluding the language like Gallego, Sardinia, or the language like Romania, but I use only Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Italian. The largest group is the French, because the French Africa, in northern part of Africa, the language lingua franca is French, is 600 million. and Spanish comes second with Latin America is 400 million. And the Portuguese, give and take, is about 300, including all Luso-based language, including Portuguese Africa, Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, and well, Mozambique, Angola, and Macau, whatever. And then the last one is Italian, which give and take is about 150 million. So I group this together. It's going to be another 1.3. For example, if the Chinese take me on and I said, well, based on the population, I'm going to charge, give and take, 50 cents per population. So 1.4 billion, I'll get 700 million. Better yet, for licensing for the industry, better yet, we only started with 10% of the 140 billion, of the 140 million, 1.4, 700 million, 10% of 70 million, to starting the base work, to channeling all the gem files now into a AI ready positioning. And since China started with this base integration of the data, well, they will have the extra charges from the future licensing to the other 5 groups. So what about the other? What about Russian? What about German? Well, we can take that in the linguistic group or can take it country by country. And this is how I think the industry will come into a very clean, very fair way to play. Then we will know how many diamonds coming from Russia, how many diamonds coming out of Africa, how many diamonds coming from Australia, and the rest of the world. I think we're coming to an era. The big data can do things that we cannot imagine we can do today. And when you have the gem board and indexing, we have clarity. Of course, people say other people will come into play the commodity, they will play the market, they were trying to corner. One guy may want to put in $10 million just for one color and to dominate the color and play. I cannot stop speculators. But since I shared this idea almost 35 years ago to my niece, Wei Yi, and to my nephews, the Yans, and now this ideas is coming to a fruition because I never let the other rise of the company, Facebook, the company coming out like Google. So what? Open book may be a challenging to Facebook because Facebook using their format, chasing girls in Harvard's freshman year. My open book is an open learning, open education. And that has application also in the industry that we're in. And we are not going to damaging anyone because when you know the true supply and true demand, a natural phenomenon of supply and demand, people will play what the market is. Nobody have to inflate. Nobody have to play the product. Am I better looking than him? Well, you are diamond, he is diamond. It's the same. So in this cluster that I'm very briefly speaking, you can see the gem file under www.paulyi.ai/gem files. So I'm opening to the public why we are continuing to share the history, to share the days when we talk about writing the book Gem Hunter with Gary Gygax for the Dungeons and Dragon audience, and now the story about Gem Explorer, which I can continue to write, but instead of writing, I'm narrating, so I can pick up the ghostwriter in China and let them creating the fiction of the real story. And this is the reason what I am welcoming with open arms with the current state of the AI. And we cannot imagine in 2 minutes my cluster of questions in bits and pieces have become into a summary by ChatGPT. As a matter of fact, I named GPT just jokingly, good morning, George, Peter, and Tom. I want to personalize. I'm having fun because you and I cannot have our bits and pieces of ideas to be integrated as the way the AI have done and the quantum algorithm can perform. So by admitting that we are not capable to have this comprehensive, I call it a tubular. So when you look at through history, it's the bits and pieces, but the ChatGPT, Gemini, and also Claude can give you a fuller picture. You can still have all the doubts you want. You can still have all the questions you want. You still have to screen it. But by open book is where this video in type written forms and edited electronically, you can have access to the document and learn from that one point that you are focusing. Before we had the volumes and volumes and volumes of books about history. I'm not saying that reading is not important. The reading is forever important. But I think in the use of the technology available today, we can foster learning, we can foster education, we can foster the open-mindedness of people. As I am in the development of the pedagogy of conscience, I have highlighted, do not take me as being offensive to call people ignorant. This is another AI score all about arrogance with ignorance. There's a huge mistake today between the East and the West. Well, when I say East and the West, I'm mainly speaking of China. And my business since 1977, I have shared this last 45 years of the progress of China. But in between, I had witnessed also how painful when these people were starting coming into the world when Deng Xiaoping opening up the trade. In 1978, when I sit down with the officials in a city, in the province, they were proposing to me to have a joint venture. I have decided I will buy them dinner. I stay in the hotel and dinner between Saturday night, Sunday, and I had kept my room in Hong Kong for $150 a night in a Sheraton on Nathan Road. That 2 days, including 2 meals, my breakfast, my lodging with my associate, 2 of us, 2 rooms and 2 dinners, was less than $55. The officials were all making $5 a month. So I have witnessed how humble they have started in 1978, and to see the size and the growth of the cities like Shanghai, Shenzhen is incredible. My wife and I plus my mother-in-law were in Shenzhen when there was a fishing village. So what I'm trying to say here is that let's use the technology, as I have dedicated all the earning from the gem file development. I can care less if Qatari takes it or Saudi takes it or any other country. All this earning will be continued putting into a nonprofit, which is the Educational Foundation Development Corporation. 100% transparency. And with the development of the gem files to utilize all the free zones around the world, from China to Brazil, and free zones no longer have been locked in one specific space with your picture, image, your text number, your code. All people can join the free zone and trade. And nobody needs to escape taxation when the government give you the kind of service. So I will continue talking about this gem files For the longest time, I thought that can be my personal project. No, today we can make this work for the entire industry with clarity, with accountability, with authentication. Because in the blockchain link, if you and I transact, that link will say who bought it, who supplied it. If you find a flaw on the stone, if that stone was, like say, it's oiled, oil is okay for some emerald stuff, but somebody put an ingredient, foreign objects into the impregnating the fissures of floor stones like sapphire, corundum, ruby, you'll be found. We can track down who is my supplier, what had been done. So, but with the system in place, the abuse will be less, and the trade, and I hope to be more. And with the monetary system of the gem bank, gem coin, and gem card, is because at one time or another, if a Brazilian's soul got paid, he wanted to hold his money abroad for the right time to transfer to have the gain on the up and down of the dollar. Now, I hope whatever happens now with BRICS and with the global south, this usury of the dollar and the abuse of the black market, I hope should vanish. Not for me, but for all of these workers, foreign workers, Filipino workers in the Saudi, in the Middle East, in the labor, when they transfer money, the cost of the transfer is enormous, relatively speaking. So if we can do business and doing good and doing it in an ethical and moral way, why not? There will be other discrepancies. There will people find a way to lie and cheat and steal. But if we can minimize it in the use of the technology today, as I said, this video can turn into 160 language by speaking with a slight delay by my contact in China. We can have the video being translated into voice and 160 language 1 hour later. The communication speed, the communication efficiency will bring everybody into a more compliant. If you cheat, you lie, you steal, the blockchain will have you identified. And then there will be a board about the level of abuse. We are self-discipline of the industry, turning an industry of questionable practices, deception, lies, and cheats into a system of accountability. And I hope I will continue to speak of the gem file system. And as I promised, a number of my audience want me to speak more about the everyday practice in my last 45 years. I will continue just to give you references, how humble we started, but I also tell you how audacious when I traveled with $350,000 wrapped around my body, flew to Brazil. A week later, with $350,000 merchandise, carrying 60 kilos, flying from Sao Paulo to Johannesburg, 18 hours, waited in the airport, 8 hours, another 16 hours into Hong Kong, landed in Hong Kong to do the first gem show. Evidence? Good Morning Hong Kong. I was the speaker. I landed with nothing but a khaki shirt and a cowboy boots, street kickers, Portuguese boots, and blue jeans. I spoke on the TV. Those are the younger days, daring do's, because I took a risk. I took a total calculated risk. I only have 50,000 carats of amethyst, where I have turned it over in less than 5 days and paid all my risk capital for 350,000. Audacious? Yes. Gambling? Yes. But today, you don't have to do this anymore. Today, we have Brinks. Today we have UPS. Today we have other couriers, private jets, private carriers for whatsoever amount, going anywhere you want to go, deliver to any free zones you want to put as a holding or temporary holding until you expedite your transaction. I think time to be smart. This kind of global exchange transparency can only bring in greater demand or not. So you know what you bought is worth. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's abundance of diamond that you do not want to stock in diamond. And that's why the Australians ditch their white diamond to India. They handle only argyle colored diamonds. I think the industry got to come up to this level of operation. And I thank you all for sharing and more specifically, Ashley, I think I have given you the full bank of the topic on gem files. Have a nice evening. Gostou, Gustavo?